in this video, we're going to talk about two-way tables and how to construct them. So let's get some definitions out of the way. First of all, we need to talk about bivariate data, and that's pairs of linked numerical observation. You've got to look at this word, bi. You know that bi means two, so bivariate data, two sets of data, numerical data. Two-way tables, they are used to organize and analyze relationships between, here's that word, two or more categorical variables. Frequency is the number of times a particular value occurs in a set, and then the relative frequency is going to be the ratio of the frequency of the value to the total frequency. So the number of times we see a certain piece of data as compared to the total number of data together. Okay, so let's look at an example. This is a basic two-way table. Very important concept number one. In two-way tables, one category is presented in columns. So in this case, have you been to Canada versus have you not been to Canada? And the other is presented by rows. Have you been to Mexico versus not been to Mexico? And we're comparing who has been to both or been to none or whatever. And then, of course, there's a total. And the total across the row should equal the total coming down from the columns. So you want this corner over here, your far right corner, should always add up, going across and down. Okay, so this is an example of a two-way table. And sometimes you don't see the total column on there. You'll have to find the total yourself. But it's just basic addition. Okay, so let's construct a two-way table. Jake surveyed students at his school. He found that 78 students own a cell phone, and you'll see I put that here in my total column because we've got cell phones and MP3 players. 78 total own a cell phone, and of those, 57 own an MP3 player. So I put 57 here in my column where I'm representing MP3 player and cell phone. There are 13 students that do not own a cell phone, but do own an MP3 player, so they go here. 9 students don't own either, so the 9 went here in the no cell phone and the no MP3 player column. So now we want to construct the rest of this table. Okay, so if 57 own an MP3 player and a cell phone, and he surveyed 78 total that had a cell phone, to find what goes here, we would want to do 78 minus 57. So we find that 21 have a cell phone but not an MP3 player. Okay, to find our total here that have no cell phone but have an MP3 player, and ones that have no cell phone and no MP3 player, we would add 13 plus 9, so we're going to get 22. Okay, so now we need to get our totals. So how many have an MP3 player total? So 57 and 13, I'm going to use a calculator just so that I'm correct. Alright. 13 plus, so we should have 70 here. And here, 21 and 9, that's going to give us 30. So going across our row, we have 100. We should also have 100 coming down this column. 78 and 22 is 100. So we have correctly constructed our frequency table, our two-way table, with MP3 players, cell phones. Okay? So now, very important concept number 2. A two-way table can show relative frequency rather than actual value. So maybe we just put the relative frequency in there instead of the actual value. If we want to find the relative frequency, we write a ratio of each to the total in that row or column. Okay, so we're trying to find the ratio of have you been to Mexico, or who's been to Mexico and been to Canada. So we have 6 out of 9. So I did mine in rows. So 6 out of 9. There's our ratio, and then we turn it into our decimal, which is 66 hundredths, which is the same as 66%. So I took my frequency here and did it to the total. So the relative frequency is this number over the total. It would have actually been the same had I gone this way. Alright, here I did my 3 to my 9. I got 3 ninths, or 33 hundredths. This is just the same, 33%. Now, what you need to do is as you go across, this should equal 9 over 9. So 6 plus 3 would give you 9 over 9, or you would want to get 100%. You always want it to equal 100% as you go across the columns, or across the rows, I should say. This was 5/16 because we had 5 here and 16 here, which gave us 31 hundredths or 31%. 11/16, which gave us 69%. But here, 5 and 11 gave us 16 sixteenths or 100%. So it's always going to add up across the top. So again, our relative frequency was this number from our row over the total number in the row. That gives you a relative frequency. So why do we want to know this? Why do we need to be able to find relative frequency? Why does a two-way table, how does it help us? Well, it helps us answer questions. Okay, so notice here, I didn't give you totals. That doesn't mean you can't find it. You could add the column or you could simply just write it out to the side. Okay, so I'm going to start by finding my totals simply because that's going to make my life easier. So how many 7th graders were surveyed? Well, 46 plus 38, there were 84 7th graders. How many 8th graders? 59. There's 100 8th graders. Okay, so then down here, this total is definitely going to be 184. That's easy. 46 and 59. There's 105. Wait a minute. That text message. Oh. And then 38 plus and 79 who instant message. So now I have all my numbers for my rows and columns that I could possibly need in order to answer these questions. Question A, how many students were surveyed? Well, that's our total overall. So 84 7th graders and 100 8th graders. So we want this number. There was 184 students surveyed. Question B, what is the relative frequency of students that responded to text message to the total number of students surveyed? So I know on the bottom of this ratio, I want 184. Now I want to look at the relative frequency of text message. So I need to look over here. I had 105 students who text message. So I'm doing 105 over 84. 184, excuse me. So that's approximately 57 hundredths or 57%. So about 57% of students say that they do their messaging by text message. All right, C, do a higher percentage of 7th or 8th graders get their messages on a daily basis from instant message? So now we want to look here at instant message and see which percentage is higher. So for 7th grade, we had 38 divided by 79. So in 7th grade, it's 48% because I'm running out of space. I'm going to do 7th grade, 38 over 79. So I said it was what? 48%. And then for 8th grade, and again, this goes with question C, I'm going to have 41 over 79. Finding the relative frequency here, 41 divided by 79 gives us 51%. So our answer down here would be 8th grade. And you probably could have just looked at this and said, well, there's more 8th graders, so it should be 8th graders. But you want to figure it out for certain. And it was asking for a percentage. So you do need to double check. So the higher percentage of which students had a higher percentage was 8th graders. So that's how you construct and use a two-way table. They do come in handy sometimes.